The power of silence lies not in what is said, but in what is withheld. When a man chooses silence, it isn't an absence of emotion, it's the culmination of it. He has reached the point where words no longer serve him, where explanations feel futile, and where dignity outweighs the need to be understood. This silence isn't passive, it's deliberate. It's the quiet before the storm, the calm after it, and the unshakable resolve in between. She expects a reaction: anger, pleading, desperation. These are languages she understands, currencies she can manipulate. But silence disarms her. It doesn't play by her rules. There's no script to follow, no emotional lever to pull, just stillness. And in that stillness, she hears everything she's been avoiding, the weight of her own actions, the echo of his absence, the unsettling truth that he's no longer orbiting. Her world, a man's silence, isn't empty. It's full of boundaries, of self-respect, of the unspoken acknowledgement that he deserves better. It's the final punctuation to a story she thought she could edit indefinitely. She replayed memories, searching for clues, wondering when exactly he stopped caring. But the truth is, he didn't stop caring. He simply stopped tolerating. His silence isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of a decision. And that's what unsettles her most. The man who argues, who fights, who begs, he's still engaged. But the man who goes silent, he's already gone. It's not waiting for her to change or hoping she'll see his worth. He's moved on, and the silence is his farewell. No drama, no last words, just the quiet closing of a door she didn't realize was hers to lose. She'll tell herself stories to make sense of it, that he's immature, that he didn't love her enough to fight. But in her quietest moments, she'll know the truth. His silence was the strongest thing he could have given her. It was the sound of a man who finally understood his own value. And that's a sound that lingers long after the noise fades. The addiction to attention is a powerful force, one that shapes behavior in ways both subtle and overt. Women, like all people, crave engagement, but for some, this need becomes a driving force, an insatiable hunger for validation that manifests in constant testing, provoking, and emotional baiting. The cycle is predictable: create tension, elicit a reaction, feed off the energy of conflict. It's a game where the rules are unwritten but deeply understood until a man refuses to play. When he withdraws his attention, it's not just absence, it's deprivation. She's conditioned to expect responses, to measure her worth by the emotional currency she can extract from him. The late-night arguments, the jealous outbursts, the dramatic reconciliations, these are the rhythms she knows. But silence disrupts the pattern entirely. Without his reactions, she's left scrambling, searching for footing in a dynamic she no longer controls. The texts go unanswered, the provocations ignored, the emotional hooks left dangling. She tells herself he's being petty or passive-aggressive, but the truth is more unsettling. His silence isn't a tactic, it's a conclusion. He's not withholding attention to punish her. He's simply no longer interested in feeding a cycle that drains him. The realization creeps in slowly: she's lost her audience. The performances she once relied on to feel seen now play to an empty room. In the absence of his engagement, she turns inward, replaying old conversations, analyzing his last words, dissecting every interaction for clues. Was there a moment she missed? A line she crossed? The uncertainty gnaws at her because silence offers no resolution, only questions. She may try to force his hand, testing boundaries with half-hearted apologies or manufactured crises, but his continued quiet speaks louder than any reaction ever could. The cruelest irony is this: the more she craves his attention, the more her desperation pushes him away. What began as a game of emotional chess has ended with his king walking off the board entirely. And in that void, she's left with the uncomfortable truth: his silence wasn't weakness, it was the ultimate power move, one that revealed her dependence on drama, while proving he no longer needed it to define his worth. The most unforgettable exits aren't the explosive ones, they're the quiet disappearances that leave no fingerprints. When a man walks away without ceremony, without final words or dramatic gestures, he doesn't just leave a relationship, He becomes a ghost that lingers in the empty spaces of her daily life. She'll catch herself waiting for his call that never comes, reaching for her phone at odd hours out of habit, hearing echoes of his laughter in crowded rooms. This kind of exit is devastating precisely because it offers no catharsis. There's no messy breakup to rage about, no final fight to replay in her mind, no villain to blame, just the growing realization that someone who was once essential has become permanently absent. The silence becomes a mirror forcing her to confront uncomfortable truths about her own behavior that she could previously ignore amidst the noise of arguments and reconciliations. Women remember these silent exits long after louder departures fade from memory, because they represent something rare, a man who valued his peace more than her approval, his dignity more than the chance to have the last word. While other exes become caricatures defined by their worst moments, the man who left quietly remains an enigma she can't quite solve. His refusal to engage in the usual breakup theatrics makes him impossible to categorize or dismiss. The power of this silent departure grows with time. While explosive breakups eventually become funny stories or cautionary tales, the quiet exit remains unresolved, leaving her forever wondering what might have been different if she'd recognized his worth sooner. Every new relationship will be measured against his unshakable composure. Every argument will feel hollow without his steady presence. And she'll secretly compare every man's emotional reactions to his infuriating, unforgettable calm. In the end, she won't remember the men who screamed their love or hate. She'll remember the one who said nothing at all. That silence becomes his legacy, echoing louder with each passing year, proving that sometimes the strongest statement a man can make is to walk away without making one. The haunting begins in the quiet moments when her phone stays dark for days, when mutual friends mention his name in passing, when she catches herself reflexively turning to share something with someone who's no longer there. His indifference becomes a presence more palpable than any argument could ever be. Where she once controlled the emotional weather of the relationship, now there's just nothing. No storms to navigate, no turbulence to blame for her unease, just the vast, unnerving calm of his absence. She'd try to provoke a reaction, a carefully crafted social media post, a chance meeting at their old coffee shop, even reaching out directly with some manufactured crisis. But his continued silence becomes a mirror reflecting back her own neediness, amplifying her discomfort. With each failed attempt to draw him out, the harder she pushes, the more powerless she feels, till she's left with the humiliating realization: the game only continues if he agrees to play. What makes this indifference so devastating is its quiet finality. There's no door left slightly ajar for reconciliation, no lingering what-ifs to romanticize. Just the simple, undeniable truth that he's moved on while she remains emotionally tethered to a connection that no longer exists. His silence isn't cruel, it's merely the natural consequence of someone who's already grieved the relationship while she was still taking it for granted in time. She'd come to understand that his indifference wasn't the beginning of the end, but rather the end of something that began long before, when she mistook his patience for permanence, his kindness for weakness. The man who once rearranged his world for her now won't even rearrange his schedule to acknowledge her existence. And that shift from being someone's priority to becoming a stranger leaves a mark no amount of time can fully erase. Lesson. She taught him how to live without her, one thoughtless act at a time, till the day arrived when he simply ... Did the echo of silence lingers long after the final goodbye? It's in the way she startles at a familiar laugh in a crowded room, how certain songs on the radio make her hands pause mid-motion, the involuntary way her breath catches when his name appears unexpectedly in conversation. These moments become landmines in her daily life, small, unexpected detonations of memory that leave her shaken. Time doesn't erase this echo, it deepens it. As months turn into years, she constructs elaborate narratives to explain his silence. He was emotionally stunted. He never truly cared. He was afraid of commitment. But in her most honest moments, she knows the truth. His silence wasn't a deficiency, but a declaration. It spoke of boundaries she crossed too many times, of patience worn too thin, of a self-respect that finally outweighed his affection for her. The cruelest realization comes gradually that while she's been trapped in the past, dissecting their every interaction, he's been living, really living, not as some broken-hearted specter pining for what was, but as a man unshackled, breathing easier without the weight of her chaos. This understanding arrives like a slow poison, the knowledge that his greatest revenge wasn't leaving her, but forgetting her. She'll see him eventually across a restaurant, in a friend's Instagram post, maybe even face-to-face at some unavoidable social function. And in that moment, she searched desperately for some sign that the silence hurt him too, that he still carries their memory. But his easy smile, his relaxed posture, the genuine light in his eyes when he turns to someone new will tell her everything. She doesn't want to know the final, devastating truth. His silence wasn't the absence of love, but the presence of something stronger, the quiet courage to walk away from what no longer served him. And that kind of strength doesn't haunt just her present. It reshapes her future, setting a standard against which all other loves will be measured and found wanting.